Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Florida. And today our question comes to us from Ma G. And Ma G has a follow-up question to our recent vlog, which dealt with a question from Spooky Puff about working with an ancestor who she knew had been a medium, but whose name was unknown to her. And by the way, Spooky Puff has since written to say that she did discover the name of the ancestor through further genealogical research. But the question is there an inherent advantage to working consciously to build a relationship with the ancestor whose name is not known, as opposed to programming your higher self to work with that ancestor in an unconscious way? And what this is referring to is the practice of trying to work with things unconsciously, of programming yourself to address them in the higher parts of your being, the astral parts and above, rather than the conscious part, and then basically bring that knowledge down. And this is something that I think we all do unconsciously on a fairly regular basis, but we certainly can do it consciously as well. One of the most common ways that this is done is by programming yourself just before going to sleep to focus on a particular issue or problem and work on it while sleeping, which is to say, beyond your conscious mind in the higher self. And also this can be done with meditation as well. And when you do a lot of spiritual work, it is sometimes the case that you'll be very aware that things are happening outside of the conscious level of your being and then filtering into your consciousness. Sometimes you'll find that you know how to do things you are not conscious of having learned, for example. Well, these are things you have learned either in a past life or through this kind of technique where it's being done beyond the conscious level of your being. And as to the question, is there an advantage in doing it consciously versus unconsciously, I don't know that I'd say that there is. I would say rather that these are two different ways of going about really any kind of situation. I think inherently the advantage of working with it consciously is that you're conscious of what you're doing and you know how you did it. But when we're talking about building a relationship with an ancestor, that isn't necessarily so important. It's the relationship itself that is important, and so working on it unconsciously could be just as good. And I don't see that one is necessarily better than the other. It depends on your circumstances. And working with it unconsciously would be particularly good if for some reason you were consciously blocking it. And sometimes we do block things that we're trying to do because we simply have that blockage. We have a great deal of our being beyond the conscious level, and that includes the shadow and the blockages that we carry. And those blockages can prevent us from doing things we consciously want to do because unconsciously they are blocked. So trying to work with that unconscious part of ourselves can sometimes move beyond that in ways that we're not conscious of. So, if you ask me which is better, particularly within the context of working with the ancestor whose name is not known, I would say that neither is inherently better, but it would depend on your circumstances and where you find yourself and what may be holding you back. However, I think that you could do either with success, and I personally would probably choose the conscious route because I would want to be more conscious of what I was doing, unless I was aware of blockage. But other people's mileage might vary, and that's perfectly fine. As with many other things in metaphysics, there's more than one way to do it. And if one is not working for you, try another. So those would be my thoughts. I hope you find them helpful, and until next time, may you blessed be.